Hello and welcome to Wednesday Warfare, where I review NXT and AEW Dynamite back-to-back and try and figure out which show won for the week. NXT opens up with a pre-taped promo by Adam Cole where he says no matter who wins tonight's triple threat match, they're all going to punch their ticket to a loss next week in the NXT Championship matchup. Our first match tonight is for the Cruiserweight title as Lio Rush defends against Angel Garza in a rematch. Garza playing some mind games from the get-go with a bit of red lipstick on his right cheek. Fast-paced, constant action throughout this matchup. The fans want Garza to rip the pants off, but he's not giving it to him just yet. These guys are just going crazy against each other here. They're stealing each other's big moves. One point, Lio hits the frog splash, the final hour, but Garza rolling out, and Lio grabbing his pants to try and hold on to him, and then they rip off. The big reveal. It's a nice little delayed reaction for that one there. Ultimately, Lio tries the frog splash again to the outside. Garza puts the knees up, the wing clipper, a kick out, which I thought was very surprising. That almost made me throw my arms around. Come on, what the hell is this? But anyway, Garza puts him right into like a front Nelson right afterward. Lio taps out, and Angel Garza is the new Cruiserweight champion. This is a really great opening matchup. I mean, for a lot of reasons. A lot of big excitement throughout the entire thing. Seeing a title change on any TV show, not a pay-per-view, is always exciting to see, I think. And yeah, this match, I think, earned that moment. It was really cool to see. And seeing the Cruiserweight Championship be a competitive belt, I think it's okay if a belt is, if it bops around a little bit, I think it's okay, because as long as the matches themselves are competitive and fun to watch and rewarding as a viewer, then I think it's okay to some extent. Also, kind of cool note for Garza here, because when they were off the air, he then proposed to his girlfriend in the middle of the ring, and she said yes, Mazel Tov. Throughout the night, we get some hype packages for the Shayna Baszler, Rhea Ripley title match happening next week. We begin with Shayna Baszler, where she's fixing up an old muscle car and talking about all the women she has destroyed and dominated in her time in NXT. And then later on, we see Rhea Ripley's story, and it's definitely much more like babyface sympathy kind of thing going on. It's like, I've wanted to be a wrestler since I first saw it when I was a kid. At age 16, I began training. At age 19, I had a tryout, and then all this stuff with the Mae Young Classics, winning the NXT UK Women's Championship, Survivor Series weekend, and her dominant performance there. And and basically the last thing she has to accomplish in NXT is beating Shayna Baszler. So definitely she's like obviously she's the big baby face, but they really lay it on thick with that one. But I think it's done really well. Raul Mendoza wants some revenge on Cameron Grimes for jumping him last week during his entrance, so they have a match right here. During the intros, we see some footage from the day before where Grimes is beating up Kushida at the Performance Center, and that plays into this matchup. The match itself does not go very long. Kushida shows up and provides a distraction, and for the second week in a row now, Grimes loses via surprise roll-up, and then to add insult to injury, then Kushida grabs Cameron's hat and puts it on, and makes a little face, and Cameron's like, no! And like, why doesn't you just get up and chase after him? You're just like sitting there like, run. Mia Yim cutting a promo backstage saying Dakota Kai put her in an ambulance at TakeOver War Games, and tonight she will return the favor. Our next match sees Travis Banks on loan from NXT UK taking on Jackson Ryker of the Forgotten Sons. It's more Worlds Collide hype more than anything else, really. Lots of action in a relatively short time frame. Ryker looks very dominant early on, but Banks is able to make a recovery. He actually gets a big cut over his right eye, or his left eye, I should say, at one point in the matchup. Hits Slice of Heaven to win the match, and so the Forgotten Sons are just forgotten a little bit more. But besides that, this match didn't really do much for me. Grudge match next between Mia Yim and Dakota Kai. Dakota makes her entrance, and they show her old Titantron again. I was kind of disappointed because last week I really popped for the fact that her video was just footage of her beating up Tegan Nox at War Games. Like, just do that. It's a great way to get heel heat. Just show your most vicious moment in perpetuity on a loop in black and white footage when you make your entrance. How cool is that? How evil is that? Anyway, the match itself I thought was great. I think the two ladies really brought the fire here. Lots of animosity and physicality in the thing. It ends when Dakota drives Mia into an exposed turnbuckle to win the matchup. But then right afterward, Mia jumps her. They fight into the tech area. And then Mia does a back suplex into what's supposed to be through two tables. But instead, Dakota goes through one table and then her head just clips the other table. It does not break. It looks really scary. Like when Mia said she wanted to put Dakota in the hospital in an ambulance, she might very well have gotten that on this night. It looked really scary. Hope Dakota's okay, but be that as it may, what a moment for Mia to get her big revenge, putting her through the tables and stuff. This feud is far from over, I would bet. Well, last time we saw Breezango on NXT, they were Top Gun pilots. This week they're doctors as they take on the Singh brothers. Two very silly teams just from looking at them, but far from a silly match. Short and sweet, pretty entertaining stuff. It ends when Dango hits Samir with a top rope leg drop to win for his team. Bianca Belair pretty much squashes Kayden Carter in the next match. Kayden's got some moments of shine, but ultimately Bianca has too much strength to her advantage, hits the KOD to win, keeping looking good and staying strong. My one question is right now, is she a heel or is she a face? Because she was a heel for the War Games matchup, and so I don't think anything's changed there, but her character is still so popular and people just love it just on a meta level that she is that's how she turned face in the first place earlier this year. So I don't know where she is right now on the heel face spectrum. Main event time, Keith Lee, Tommaso Ciampa, and Finn Balor. The winner will become the #1 contender for the NXT Championship. All night we've been seeing some hype packages for each of these guys as they're making their case as to why they should win and why they will become the next NXT champion. Very well done. In fact, a really cool aesthetic choice they did for Tommaso Ciampa's entrance in this matchup, where it looks like it's pre-taped. It's very cinematic. You get the letterbox and everything. All of a sudden he says, "This one's for you, Goldie." Goes to the curtain and all of a sudden the frame rate changes. The bars go away, and oh, we're live. We've been live this whole time. Really interesting choice they made with that one. It's a really good matchup here. Keith Lee is clearly the star of this contest, and you can tell from the fan reactions. Just Keith Lee chants throughout the entire thing, most notably of which is "Don't You Forget About Keith," which was started by Ross and Tom over on Cultaholic. That really picked up steam after Survivor Series. They played it during commercial breaks at NXT last week. The guys at Cultaholic made a music video for the song that came out on Wednesday. You should definitely check that one out. It's awesome on its own, but there are a couple of familiar faces that make some cameos you might want to check out as well. But yeah, congratulations to Cultaholic for inventing a chant that got over on NXT proper. Really cool stuff. The match ends when Lee hitting Ciampa with the Spirit Bomb, immediately eating a coup de grace from Finn out of nowhere. Finn pins Keith in kind of a shocker to win the matchup, and he's going to be facing Adam Cole Bay for the championship next week on NXT. Should be a really good matchup here. I think it's one of those classic chases for Keith Lee. You can tell they're hopefully gonna give him a big old push, but maybe not his time right away. So the fans clearly want Keith Lee to be in that position, but they're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. AEW begins with Alex Reynolds taking on Mr. Attitude, Jon Moxley, as Jim Ross refers to him. Moxley shatters his own record for the fastest victory in AEW history. They even bring up during his entrance that, he beat Michael Nakazawa in 1:09. That was the fastest time ever. Clearly foreshadowing because he hits Alex with maybe a kick and a paradigm shift, and that's it. So maybe in 10 seconds he shatters the record. John Silver runs in too, and that jump attack gets thwarted. After the match, the whole Inner Circle appear and surround the ring. Chris Jericho gets in the ring and then tries to talk Moxley into joining the group. He brings up their shared history in WWE, the fact that Jericho gave him the spot on Talk is Jericho, and he was repaid by getting beat up by Double or Nothing, but he saw the killer instinct in Moxley when he did that. So he's offering him a spot at the Inner Circle, says you got a couple of weeks to make up your mind and think about it. So that's going to be a lingering storyline for the next couple of weeks. But chances are Moxley's going to reject that because Jericho's clearly trying to subvert Moxley's attempts at going for the championship. Going into their next pay-per-view, which is called, I believe, Revolution. The Butcher and the Blade make their in-ring debuts in AEW, taking on Cody and QT Marshall, who was handpicked by MJF. MJF in a couple of promos last week or so, one of which did not make air on TV, where he reveals that he paid for the services of the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny to attack Cody. So he's picking QT Marshall because he's just kind of a jobber. No one really thinks anything of him, has no chance. So kind of an underdog thing here. It's a really good match though, and I think Butcher and the Blade look really good in their debut. They're impressing. I was also impressed by Excalibur, spending more time talking about their history during the entrances and why we should care about them. It's the opposite of what we got when they first showed up on TV. The big problem I think with AEW, one of their biggest issues, is that when they have these cold debuts, they just expect everyone to know who they are. It's very much implied, especially in the commentary, when Excalibur's freaking out over, oh my god, it's this person, but most people might not know who these indie guys are. They didn't know who the Dark Order were. They didn't know who Butcher and the Blade were. And so at least it's kind of a good make good here by Excalibur when he's giving a little bit more backstory to the match. Like I said, good match here. QT even getting some time to shine near the end, but ultimately he's taken out with the full deck for the Butcher and the Blade to win the match. Great debut for these guys. Really good first showing here. After the match, though, Darby Allin appears out of nowhere and helps Cody get back up. So seems to be forming some kind of alliance, some unlikely partnership in the near future. What's the motivation? We don't really know for sure. Maybe it has something to do with their time limit draw at Fight for the Fallen, Fyter Fest, my bad. And maybe they'll build from there, but who really knows for now. MJF has some words for Cody in response to what Cody said about him last week. First thing Max does, though, is he berates a crew member who apparently laughed at something Cody said in his promo last week about how bad MJF's Crossroads was, makes the stagehand kiss the ring, hits him with the double cross anyway, and then MJF just runs down Cody for a while, calling him fake, making fun of his lisp even. Then he says he accepts Cody's challenge for a match, but he will wait till Jacksonville on New Year's Day to announce the stipulation for the match. And the way I just described the promo to you is a much more succinct way of how MJF went about it in this promo. You know, I think MJF, his delivery was just great. I think he still had that heel fire, and I really enjoyed the delivery, but I think the structure of the promo, I think, was lacking here, because about 2 or 3 times in the promo, you think he's going to end the thing, and he goes, oh, I have one more thing to say, and it just kept adding and adding on, and just dragging. And so, like I said, the delivery was there, the execution of the promo itself, and the fact that he kept like tacking things on at the end, and it kept going and going, that was a bit of a detraction for me. A rare, weak promo by MJF in that regard. We see a vignette where Alex Reynolds is in his hotel room, and he's being recruited by the Dark Order through the hotel room TV, and John Silver walks in and has no idea what's going on. I'm really enjoying these Dark Order vignettes. I'm getting more of a sense of what the Dark Order is, and I'm enjoying more of their shtick in these pre-tape vignettes than I really have in their matches so far, so keep up the good work. Big Swole making her Dynamite debut against Emi Sakura here, and this is a great matchup. I think it does a really good job showcasing Swole's attributes and abilities in the ring, and she and Emi have great chemistry as well. Swole wins with Dirty Dancing, and that's pretty much it. You can't really ask for a much better debut than what Big Swole got. Pac being interviewed backstage, and he says he demands his rubber match with Kenny Omega, but if he doesn't get it, he will not be responsible for what he may do in the future. Speaking of Omega, our next match sees him team with Hangman Page against Shawn Spears and Kip Sabian. One of my favorite parts of this match is just the intros where, like in the lower third for Hangman Page, says, drank a bottle of whiskey at home alone last Wednesday. Very Shotgun Saturday Night vibes with these lower thirds, because we see a joke as well with Sammy Guevara in his match where it's like he goes through withdrawals if he's away from his phone. It's like Mattitude Facts from like the V1 era, but it's also Shotgun Saturday Night where we have like the joke lower thirds. I don't really know what they're going for with that, but it's very interesting. It's a good match here from everyone involved, including Penelope Ford at ringside, who gets involved on more than one occasion. Right before the hot tag, though, the lights cut out, they come back up, and we see Tully Blanchard bound and gagged on a chair on the stage, and Joey Janela is the culprit there. Shawn Spears runs after him, they brawl their way to the back. My question with this is, I figured at Full Gear it was heavily implied that it was going to be Joey Janela versus Kip Sabian next, and I figured, like, the timing of it made me think like, it was going to all revolve around the association with Penelope Ford, because Ford in real life did date Joey Janela and valeted for him in GCW, and now she's apparently Kip Sabian's girlfriend. She went from dating the bad boy to super bad. It seemed to write itself, and that's what was heavily implied from what I watched at Full Gear, but they're still continuing the Joey Janela Shawn Spears angle, which, okay, that's interesting. Don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I thought that the Sabian-Janela feud was just like it wrote itself. Anyway, Sabian's all by himself. V-trigger, buckshot lariat, the Elite win. Brandy Rhodes cutting a promo, tearing down the women's division. She even says that Rio's gotten so small we haven't seen her in weeks, which that's a damn good burn by Brandy there. She says the offer to Chris Statlander to join the Nightmare Collective, almost called the Dark Order, the Nightmare Collective still stands, and we see Melanie Cruz from last week. We see her there in the promo. Also the back of some guy's head who Brandy wants to keep secret for the time being. I thought it was Dr. Luther for a second, but I probably am wrong with that one. We'll just have to see who it is. Luchasaurus in singles action taking on Sammy Guevara. Before the match, match begins, Guevara's friends in the Inner Circle show up. Jericho and Jake Hager, they kick Excalibur and Tony Schiavone off the announce desk. So Jericho is doing commentary for the bulk of this thing here. It's a competitive matchup. Luchasaurus wins, and as he's making the 3 count, Hager and Jericho sprint down to the ring. They start jumping Luchasaurus after the matchup. Jungle Boy, Marco Stunt get involved. Ultimately, Jungle Boy rolls up Jericho and Marco with a very unofficial 3 count, so very symbolic. He pinned Jericho for the 3 count there. Will he be so lucky next week in their 10-minute time limit matchup? I thought it was great for Jungle Boy. I think it looked really good here, having a nice moment to shine, giving him some hope going into that match with Jericho. I think it's funny how many people complained about that match being made last week. Well, you know, it says it flies in the face of AEW's claim that wins and losses matter and everything, because true, Jungle Boy is winless in AEW right now, if you don't count the very unofficial 3 count he had on Wednesday. But yeah, so, oh, what's he doing for the rest of the champion who's only lost once? Oh, wins and losses, they don't matter after all. Well, you know, it's non-title, and Jungle Boy made the challenge, and Jericho accepted it. So if they're making these choices on their own for non-title affairs and everything, then, you know, there's no reason they shouldn't wrestle. And if Jungle Boy is able to win, you know, hypothetically, then yes, he should move up the rankings because he beat the champion, and that's just how wrestling has operated for a very long time. So I don't get why people were mad about it. It's like, it's giving Jungle Boy a chance, just a young guy who has a lot of upside potential, a chance. You know, the wins and losses thing, I get why people are mad about that, but it's non-title, so shouldn't be a factor. Main event time, a Texas street fight as Proud and Powerful take on the Young Bucks, and the winners will take on SCU next week for the AEW tag team titles. The Bucks are jumped by Proud and Powerful and Sammy Guevara from the get-go before the match begins. Brandon Cutler tries to make the save, and they just kill him, powerbombing him through the stage. Weapons of all kinds are being used in this matchup here. Tables, kendo sticks, trash cans, even a Dallas Cowboys helmet, which Santana spits on to get maximum heel heat. At one point, Jake Hager gets involved in the outside and with the referee. Nick accidentally kicks the referee's face right off. Dustin Rhodes shows up and fights Hager and chases him back up the ramp, and Aubrey Edwards is now the replacement referee for the rest of the match. It ends when the Bucks hit a Meltzer driver on Ortiz on a couple of the chairs to win. We get a stare down between the Bucks and SCU as we fade to black. It was a fun match. Like, it had its entertaining moments, kind of a popcorn match. It was fun to watch, but it was so overbooked as shit. There was like all the weapons, all the run-ins, all the Inner Circle shenanigans, the referee going down, new referee coming in, pulling out each of the referees. Lots of wild stuff being thrown in this matchup here, almost to its detriment. You know, think of it this way. When you compare NXT's use of one table on Dakota Kai from Mia Yim, compare it to the tons of table breaks we saw in this matchup with the Bucks and Proud and Powerful, which moment do you think was more impactful? The fact that tables added nothing, or they really played no factor in the finish or any kind of story being told with the Texas street fight, but you've got this table thing, which is even made more severe and impactful because of how scary the bump was for Dakota Kai. Comparing the two things, like, you know, AEW, or NXT's far more impactful use of tables. I think the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful, it was entertaining, but a little excessive and kind of took me out of it. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, NXT or Dynamite. This one was so hard for me to pick this week for different reasons. I really can't pick a winner, so it's going to be a tie. For the first time in the history of Wednesday Warfare, we have a tie outcome. Here's the thing. NXT started off really hot with a Cruiserweight Championship match and a title change on top of that, some really good character building with Ripley and Baszler, and then a really entertaining main event. What I really enjoyed about AEW this week was, I think they did a really good job introducing some of the new and semi-new names to the show, like the Butcher and the Blade, like Big Swole, in case you didn't see her match on Dark beforehand, like Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, who, even though we've seen them in action like in the Battle Royal a couple of weeks ago, not really used in any kind of meaningful way since Full Gear, and even then that was just a promo, so it's glad to see him get some time to shine as well. Also, lots of use of like mystery and intrigue and questions going into the next couple of weeks, like what's the relationship with Cody and Darby Allin? You know, who was the bald man in the Brandy Rhodes promo? What's Jon Moxley thinking? How's he going to mull over his decision to join the Inner Circle? We all know he's not going to join it, but how's he going to make that decision? And of course, the intrigue toward Jungle Boy. Will he have a chance against Chris Jericho? Lots of question marks, lots of intrigue going into next week as well. Both shows very strong, very hard for me to pick a winner. They're strong in their own ways, and again, it's the wrestling action and just it's the competitive nature of the matches versus the stories to try and tell. And like, you know, one excels at one more than the other, so really hard for me to pick one this week. It's going to be even harder next week because that's the show that both brands are really putting all their eggs into that basket. And I want to get one thing off my chest right now. I've been doing Wednesday Warfare for about 10 weeks now, and it's been inciting a lot of very passionate debate in the comment section on both sides. I've been really stoking the flames between the AEW fans and the NXT fans every week when I make my decisions, but I want to let y'all know, like, it's all in fun, not meant to be taken seriously. Truthfully, I really enjoy both shows on the whole every week. You know, there's some shows I like better than others, but like, I'm really enjoying myself when I watch AEW and NXT for the most part. I think, you know, as cliche as it is to say, the fans are the ones who win every Wednesday because we have the ability to watch and enjoy different kinds of wrestling that are offering you different things. And so when I see people get so riled up when I say, oh, AEW won, and I get all these angry comments, or the other way around, when I say NXT won, I got these angry comments. It's so silly to me because at the end of the day, it's like we should just be glad that we have these two shows to watch. The fans are the winners. It's all in fun. Don't take who I pick so seriously. It's just my opinion. I don't claim, I'm not saying, you know, one is, when I'm saying that one wins, I'm not saying the other one sucks, for the most part. You know, don't take it so seriously is all I'm saying. But let me know what you thought about AEW and NXT in the comment section below, and be sure to vote which show you thought was better by going to the iCard in the corner of your screen. One final push before the weekend begins. I hope you check out Ring of Honor's Final Battle pay-per-view happening Friday the 13th, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern. Final Battle Hour 1. I'll be part of that show as the roving interviewer between matches. Going to be a lot of fun. That first hour is absolutely free to viewers on Fight TV and on Honor Club and on the Facebook live feed that Ring of Honor is going to be putting out. Watch the rest of the show on pay-per-view. Hope to see you there in Baltimore or in Philadelphia on Sunday at the ECW Arena for the Final Battle Fallout. It's going to be a great weekend, folks. I am just so excited about what's going to happen this weekend in Baltimore and Philadelphia. Hope to see you there. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.